All right. So 2 years ago, I performed here, and then I went further into Europe, and the main thing I was doing was going around talking shit on what would become the Occupy movement. Why was I doing this? Because I was mad ignorant, as we would say in the U.S. I was talking shit about something I didn't know about, based on my own experiences in the world, which is fine, whatever. But I'm in Sweden, and all these people are like, what's up with Occupy Wall Street? And this is like September 14th or something, you know, right before it started. And I was like, I don't know, I heard kids are gonna sleep in the park. Big fucking deal. It's a big park. It's a big city, you know. People are gonna sleep in it. Wow. And then I kept going, I went further north into Sweden, and people said, what's up? They're gonna occupy Wall Street? And I was like, why is everyone in Sweden so excited about something that no one I know is excited about in the US? Like, I know they're gonna sleep in a park. It's gonna be really big Tahrir Square moment. Because that's what the poster said. It said, is the US ready for Tahrir Square, September 17th, bring your tent. And I was like, yeah, totally. We're totally ready for Tahrir. And then it started, and I didn't pay attention to it. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I was like on the Facebook, and literally every single thing in my feed all the way down, as far as I could go down, had to do with Occupy Wall Street. And it wasn't my activist friends, it was like people from my family. It was like people from elementary school who aren't political at all. Everybody. And I was like, what the fuck is going on in the United States? I leave for Europe and shit starts popping off, right? So
maybe you're in charge.
I know, right? Like, maybe I was just like, dude, once Ryan leaves, we can fucking get stuff started, you know? But so I end up at the first night of Occupy Dame Street in Dublin, in Ireland. And we're camped out front of the International Monetary Fund's office. And I performed at like 2 in the morning, right? They invited me to perform. So I'm sitting there, it's like 3 a.m., and I'm just chilling. And this wasted, like, working class Dublin football hooligan comes up to me. There's all these Irish people there, and he like you know how drunk people, like, they'll like lock your eye, and then they're like, all right, I'm talking to that guy for a while, you know that guy? And that's what had happened. I was like, fuck, and he was in like a, you know, full tracksuit. Like, I'd been warned about these people from the police. We went to the G8 in 2005 in Scotland, the G8 protests, and we got detained by the cops, and they were like, you anarchists are bullshit. We're scared of the football hooligans, not you. Fuck you, basically. And we were like, oh, damn it. You know? They're right. But so, real deal, working class, drunk Irish football hooligan comes up to Ryan, and he's like, what the fuck are you protesting about? I'm not going to try to imitate his accent. And I was like, I'm just like, will someone who's Irish answer this dude? He's going to find out I'm American, it's going to just get worse. And then he asked me again, and I just sat there like, and then he goes, is this about the IMF? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, fuck the IMF. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, exactly, you know? And then he like came in and he was there for like hours, you know? And that was when I realized that some big deal shit was going on in the world. And this was the first song I wrote when I got home about the Occupy movement. And the Occupy movement was full of weird fucking problems, which is to be expected. And I was pissed because, not pissed in the British sense. Pissed meaning I was angry, I wasn't wasted.
We say pissed off, so...
Yeah. I was pissed off, but we'll meet there. Good. I was pissed off at some of my friends because they were like turning away from this explosive movement because they heard one story on the internet that something happened at this camp. And I'm like, look, we're in the real fucking world. Shit sucks. It's gonna be fucked up. We work through the problems in the movement, not by leaving it. You don't abandon it because there was one problem. You fucking fix it because there was a problem, you know? So, I wrote this song. It's called Can't Turn Back. I've seen the bitter worker whose labor paid little in return, struggling to meet the monthly bills with the little that she earns. And I've seen the developer and the banker with the double-bladed loan, who in the name of economic law pushes people out their homes. And I've seen the foggy skyline rising up through the thick yellow haze, where the number crunchers and corporate thieves are now counting down their days. And I know we got a long way to go, but we're on the right track. And I've seen the gang fighter with misplaced but justified rage, fighting his brother on the broken streets till they put him in a cage. And I've seen the politician lie in the faces of the poor about fixing the conditions of their life with one hand on the door. And I know we got a long way to go, but we're on the right track. Yeah, we're on the right track. And I know we got a long way to go, but we can't turn back. 'Cause I've seen the people's movements in Iceland and Oakland and Greece, in Egypt, Tunisia and Chile and Spain, saying it's our time to speak now. We're gonna speak now and there. Hope is rising, a whirlwind in an era of change. It's born from the rejection of a bitter fear that's now falling like the leaves. It's falling like the leaves. And I know we got a long way to go, but we're on the right track. Yeah, we're on the right track. And I know we got a long way to go, but we can't turn back. That's the first club mate burp mid-song that I've had to deal with for a year. I forgot about club mate. How could I have forgotten? Man. Let's do this. Let's go chronologically here. Sort of. So it was like 2011, and it was February, and well, really late January is when it clicked for me. But when the Tunisian revolution popped off in December of 2010, I was starting to pay attention to it. And when the Egyptian protest started on January 25th, 2011, a couple days into it, I called a friend of mine, both of whom come out of the anti-war movement in the U.S., both of whom have done a lot of reading and discussions about Arab politics to try to understand Arab politics better, because we were in an anti-war movement that pretty much knew nothing about the Arab world which we're attacking. And so you had people in 2009 making speeches at anti-war marches being like, we need to stop the bombing of Iraq. And I was like, dude, we haven't bombed Iraq for 4 years. We don't even know what's going on. You're just talking rhetoric, you know? We were doing house, door to door, fucking kicking people's doors down and arresting all the men in the house, but we weren't bombing. So anyways, there's the problem. So anyways, and we're like, yo, this could be a fucking big deal. This could change the whole setup right now. And once everything unfolded, an Iraq veteran, a former U.S. soldier who I work with, who's an anti-war activist now, he called me up and he was like, I feel like this is the end of 9/11. The 9/11 era ended with the Arab Spring, you know? And he was sort of 10 years ago, people like me were being told that we have to go fucking teach democracy to the Arabs. And 10 years later, the Arabs are like, yo, here, let's talk about democracy and regime change. How we do it, by overthrowing US-backed dictators, etc. So, anyways, so I went to Egypt last summer, and I played 2 shows there in Cairo, and I hung out with these young anarchist football hooligans, ultras, is what they're called. And I think I'm the first American folk singer to do that. I also might be the first American to get a commemorative Margaret Thatcher's dead tattoo. I thought it was about time. I was like, I didn't get anything when Reagan died. So. But so I went to Egypt, and this is one of the songs I wrote after being there. Because all I wanted to do, I wanted to see Tahrir Square. I was like, I want to see Tahrir. I want to go to Tahrir, you know? And these young guys picked me up, and I don't know if you've ever been to Egypt, but that shit is nuts. The highway is insanity, right? So we're driving on the highway for like 2 hours, and I'm just sitting there like, oh fuck. I've never been on such a big highway with no lanes, you know, and like there'll be a camel in the middle, there'll be a guy with a cart, you know, it's like the highway, you know. We get to Tahrir, and they're like, oh yeah, this is Tahrir, by the way. And I was like, oh wow, and they're like, yeah, but we want to show you a different street. We want to show you Muhammad Mahmud Street. They were like, this is where the real fighting happened. This is where the fucking battles were. So they take me to the street called Muhammad Mahmud Street, and the whole street is lined with an enormous, like 5 block graffiti piece, all huge murals, you know, and not spray paint. They don't really get spray paint in Egypt. It's too expensive, so they hand paint it all. And it's huge, and it depicts all these people who died in the revolution. And in Arabic, along the whole wall, is a message to the Muslim Brotherhood. And it said, you left us here and went to the elections. And because so many people died on that street during the protests against the elections, and the Muslim Brotherhood was nowhere to be found because they were trying to get into the political system and had kind of departed the revolution. And so this is a song I wrote kind of inspired by that. But this is just a compilation of stories of some of the people who died in the Egyptian Revolution, which, you know, there's almost 1,000 of them. And it's called Prepare because all over Cairo there's a stencil of a Molotov cocktail, and under it in Arabic it just says Prepare. And that came after the revolution. It was just saying it's not good yet. It's gonna keep happening. So this is called Prepare. Like millions of others, she was brought here, raised in a situation that was not fair, harassed on the street, beat, it didn't stop, then the stigma found a spot to hide, we right there and she fought, and kept the spot where hope could grow from the cold. And on the 25th, she came to the square, and on the 28th, she was there, gave a hell of a fight for the cops there, for dignity and justice and a spot to share. The gas filled out the streets and she dropped there, breathed deep into the sea, died different with the third dream, just never got there. Her voice still calls from the walls and leave the Tahrir. Prepare. It's gonna be more, so prepare. You saw him pushing the regimes up against the lines. He was waiting for the moment for a lifetime. Spark caught hold of his open mind. Found himself fighting the concert all night with a Molotov cocktail and a smile with the best of his generation. And on the 29th they took his eye. Came back on the 3rd with the battle cry. Got snatched up and locked inside a hard dark cell. And Shubra Hyman died staring back, dignified. Though he's a painted face, casting pride, strong, brave, immortalized. His comrades put his face up to the mind. Prepare. It's gonna be more, so prepare. Well, Muhammad Mahmud stood his ground in the face of elections and called them out. Determined to face fear wrapped around, fighting back, putting fear in the background. A soon-to-be martyr with a rock in his hand, with reasons to live and die. He didn't offer his body in the angry crowds for a new regime to take the crown. I came to turn the world upside down. He stayed out front when the guns came out, facing the police, scared and proud. Stayed out front and got laid down. Those 19 years led to here and now. Now stand so face around and calls out prepare. It's gonna be more, so prepare. World changed and then it changed right back. They called you thugs when you fought the scaf, while they politic with the IMF and cut deals with Clinton and the IDF. Sent the same cops out to whoop your ass. I guess it's gone that way before. I guess it changed the train, but couldn't change the track. But you changed too, they can't take that back. Generations past, cut a brand new path. Ask questions you're not supposed to ask. To improvise a future from a fucked up past on a foundation that's worn and cracked. It's just a petrol bomb. You're the match and flammable material that can't hold back repair. It's gonna be more, so